Warning, the Stone Age Gamer includes a lot of bad language. Cover your mother***ing ears.
Good evening and welcome to the Stone Age Gamer Podcast. I'm Kris Randazzo and joining me tonight is tie-wearing plumber, Dan Ryan.
Plumbers wear ties. That's right. We want to look fancy on the job, Kris.
The real plumbers, not the ones in the 3DO games, but the real plumbers. They wear ties. We're talking
on
game preservation tonight because it's a hot topic and we're nothing if not topical. How many Ninja Turtles records can we all buy? Wave your pirate flag high because the Stone Age Gamer Podcast starts now. Hi everyone, this is episode 472. It's the week of July 21st, 2023. And let me tell you, Dan, I missed a couple of sales today because I was talking to you and everybody else.
I'm very sorry.
I'm pretty upset about it. So me and Dan had a meeting with the Stone Age Gamer folks this morning at approximately 10 a.m. And at 10 a.m., Ship to Shore Phono was selling their exclusive glow-in-the-dark vinyl of the first Ninja Turtles video game soundtrack. So that was probably live for all of, a minute.
38 seconds.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So I completely missed that. And also...
How much were they selling it for?
They were selling it for $31.99, the same price as the standard black one on Limited Run. The green one on Limited Run is $39.99, which I could not justify. $31.99 was even pushing it really far because I love that soundtrack, but it's just not a lot of music.
I was going to say, there's not a lot there.
Yeah, I listened to it today, just yesterday. I listened to it yesterday. I loaded it up on my iPod, be like, I'm going to listen to this. And if I really enjoy this top to bottom, it's been a little while, I'm going to listen to this. And if I really enjoy it, then I want to get it. Because, having a Ninja Turtles vinyl, with that artwork on it, is just, that would mean a lot to me to have.
That's really cool.
It's a cool thing to have. So $31.99, I was like, I can sort of justify throwing that on, my PayPal, where I have a little bit of flex money chilling there for stupid purchases. Yeah, a little bit of... Because not that I have much of the way of disposable income. In fact, I probably shouldn't have any at all. But, sometimes you just need serotonin in your life. So I did that one, and I really wanted to get the green one, but $40? I'm sorry,
yeah.
I just can't do it. I can't pay $40 for that soundtrack. It's just not enough music. Now, the other ones, if they're around that same price, I wouldn't buy them because I don't love those. I don't love listening to those soundtracks as much as I love just having them on while I'm playing the game. They're just not those kinds of soundtracks to me. But that original NES one, though, I love that music. So,
it's phenomenal. It's just, like you said, there's just not a lot of it.
Yeah, it's a half an hour of music, maybe. It's just not a lot. So, but the Turtles 2, the arcade game, they have both the arcade and NES soundtrack on the vinyl. That makes sense. And I was really wondering what they were going to do with the track list for this one. Because they were saying something. I follow Josh Fairhurst, who's one of those folks who works at Limited Run and does a bunch of those kinds of preservation-y things. He's typically a decent guy, but he was getting kind of snippy with his responses, because somebody asked him what the track list was, because all right, you want me to buy this, but I don't know what's on it. So what's the track list?
Shit about it.
And he responded to me with look, if there's a track list, if we have a track list, it's up on the website, but we're coordinating with all these different companies, so we don't have time for everything. Let me see if I can find the exact response. If there was
not
one,
an acceptable response, sir.
Yeah, I said, he said that he was trying, what his original plan was to get the DOS version of the soundtrack to be on there as well. But unfortunately that didn't work out. The plan wasn't approved. And I said, bummer about the DOS soundtrack, but you're awesome for trying. Anyway, is there a track list for the first one anywhere that we can see? And he said, if there was one, it would be on our store page for the soundtrack. If it isn't there, I'll look into getting one added, but it might take some time since two big companies have to approve every detail of these releases. Which is he put a smiley face at the end. It did come off as a little snippy, but
why wouldn't that be approved as part of the original release?
Because Ship to Shore has the track list. I looked at the Ship to Shore page went live this morning for the pre-order for the glow-in-the-dark one, and boom, look at that. There's the track list right there on the page. So the track list it's not a secret. It's just not on Limited Run's page for some reason. Yeah. So, that doesn't make me super happy. But, I bought it. Side A is title screen, level theme 1, stage theme 1, difficult fight, turtle captured, game over, and stage theme 2. Side B is stage theme 2A, stage theme 2B, karate boss fight, karate boss defeated, level clear, underwater scene, level theme 2, stage theme 3, and epilogue. Again, I think this is it's about a half an hour of music. And, I guess on one hand, I'm really not that upset that I didn't get the glow in the dark record, because when am I going to listen to this record in the dark? Sure. It doesn't bother me that much, but it's just such an awesome cover. I don't love that it has the Nickelodeon logo on it now, because
that just is what it is. That's who
exactly
owns it,
yeah.
So,
but we'll talk more about that later. But the other thing I missed was the damn amiibo, the Link amiibo that I've been trying to get my hands on. It went live on Nintendo's website. Gone in minutes, but tons of people got them. Like, I was looking through the comments to expect to see my usual, like, they're gone in seconds or whatever. But like, most of the comments on the Amiibo News Twitter that posted it out was like, "Yay, I got one! Hey, everybody got one! That's wonderful." Well, I didn't fucking get one because I was having a meeting.
I fucking hate everybody else.
I mean, I keep hoping that it's going to show back up again, because this damn Bokoblin one keeps showing up everywhere. They keep selling out in a couple of minutes, and then 3 more days later, boom, more Bokoblins. Let's crank out all the Bokoblins we can. Like, okay, but everyone wants Link. Why are you flooding us with Bokoblins? Come on, give us the Skyward Sword Link.
I'm still hoping that that is what happens with the Spider-Punk figure. Did I talk about going to the store last week?
Maybe.
Did I talk about that? I don't know. I think my experience trying to get this Spider-Punk figure might have pushed me to online from now on, because I really like going to the store and picking up the thing that I'm trying to get.
As do I. I think we did have this conversation. Yeah.
I don't love it, but I was looking around, and I saw somebody posted on Reddit that Spider-Punk was in stock at Walmart. I was like, oh shit, all right, $24.99, like that's the going rate for it. Sweet, I'm going to grab that. And I went online to get it, and it was sold out. But fuck, fine, I missed it, whatever. Let me just, for shits and giggles, check and see if one of the local Walmarts around here happens to have it in stock. Like, nobody's had it in stock for a while. But, stranger things have happened. Let me see. And lo and behold, a Walmart about 10 minutes away said they had one in stock. So, like, it was like 10 o'clock at night. They were closing in an hour. And I was like, babe, I'm going to Walmart. And she was like, you're a fucking asshole, but okay. So I got in the car, and I drove over there, and I got to this Walmart, and I'm looking around in this toy aisle, because it's in row E, or section E, row 29 is where it was supposed to be. So I went to section E, row 29, and I'm looking up and down the aisle, and I see all the empty shelf tags where it says, Spider-Man Marvel Legends, $24.99, but there's just nothing there. Fuck, man. All right. Okay, let me see if I can find somebody, and maybe they just got a shipment in, and they're like, oh yeah, they're over here. Let me get my little electronic doohickey, and I'll fucking look it up, and I'll tell you where it is, right? Okay. So I find a person, and I'm like, hey, so this is where it's supposed to be, and, it's not over here, and I was just wondering if you could, take a look and, see, maybe it's in the back, your little scan thing, and she was like, well, let's go look in the section again. I was like, look, lady, I don't mean to be a dick, but, I've been doing the toy hunt for, longer than you've been alive. You're 18, I've been doing this shit for 20 years. It's not over here. I promise. I did the checking and whatever. She was like, oh, let's go check anyway. Okay, fine. Oh, you're right. It's not here. I said, yeah, no, I'm aware. I'm well aware. She was like, well, I don't have one of the scanner things, but it says we have one in stock, right, on the web, on the thing. And I was like, yeah, I showed her my phone. She was like, well, if you go up to customer service and you show this to them, they have to get it for you. They have to find it in the store, or they have to get it like from the warehouse or whatever. It says we have it in stock. That's what they got to do. And I was like, oh shit, I've never heard that policy. That doesn't sound accurate to me.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound feasible.
It doesn't sound like a thing they can do, but cool. Let's go ahead and do that. And indeed, they do not have to do that. I walked up to the customer service and I was like, you know, the website says you have this particular thing in stock. And she was like, yeah, no. And I was like, she was like, you have to buy it online. I was like, no, I understand that, like, I'm showing you the website. I get that I'm showing you the website, but look, here, this is your store, right? And she was like, yeah. I was like, you see how it says there's one in stock? And she was like, shit, I don't know where that is. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go. And that's just going to be that. And I think I'm done, like, looking for toys anyway at retail, man. Like, I think that experience finally broke me. Because I can go on entertainmentearth.com right now and pre-order the Spider-Punk figure. It's not shipping till October, but I'll get it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to worry about it. I know they're going to get it. It just sucks, man. It just sucks, especially for a movie. Like, I understand that Legend of Zelda is pretty popular. It's not fucking Spider-Man popular.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not to disparage or besmirch the good name of The Legend of Zelda, but it's just not even
huge,
close.
But Spider-Man.
Like, we're not only is it not the same ballpark, we're not even talking the same fucking sport anymore.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Across the Spider-Verse stuff has been sold out, except for Jessica Drew. If you want to find the Jessica Drew Spider-Woman figure, you're going to be pretty able to find her. And it sucks, because I know why you're able to find her, because action figure collectors are mostly, and I say this as one, and having interacted with that world for quite a while, it's mostly a particular kind of dude. And it's not the particular kind of dude that buys an action figure of a curvy black girl with an afro. So, lots of Jessica Drews out there in the world, nobody else, which is kind of fucked up. You know? Anyway. I did that this week. Like, I get where you're coming from with the Legend of Zelda thing. Like, it's fucking frustrating. I would like to buy this product. This doesn't seem like it should be a limited or difficult thing to obtain.
Yeah, toys probably shouldn't be this difficult to find, but, you know, that's the world we live in, because there's people that have made a living off of scalping toys. You know, it's, oh, here's something that people want. I'm going to buy it and force myself in as the middleman. So I'm going to do no actual work and make a lot of money.
But it's not even that much money. Like, it's really not.
I mean, look, let's say...
You would be better off, like, getting in a job. Be okay.
Yeah, but that's work. You know?
You can't do that in your socks and your mandals. Like, I understand that aspect of it. And, like, for some, that is a bridge too far. I get it. But
if
still.
You're selling you paid $15.99 for an amiibo, and you bought 100 of them, and then you sell each of them for a minimum of $45, you know, you do that a couple hundred times a week or month or whatever, you're making some money. You're gaming the system, and you're not doing any actual work. You're a landlord.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck landlords, man. Eat the rich. Anyways. This took a turn. Jesus, Kris, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Video games.
I apologize.
I barely did anything this week. I barely touched any video games this week. I'm sad. I killed another Gleeok. I killed the original Gleeok. I tracked that fucker down.
I went back and I was like, remember me, motherfucker?
It was the one the first one I encountered in the Coliseum, the electric one. I walked in there, I saw it, I ran away, it still killed me, and I said, I'm going to come back for you someday. Well, I fucking did. I came back and I killed the shit out of him, and it was killing Gleeoks is still so much fun. That is such a rewarding experience. And I beat the Fire Temple, which was also really cool.
Nice.
Had a really cool boss. I still don't like the Goron champion. I hated him in Breath of the Wild, and I still don't like him in this. He's like just kind of whiny, and I don't really care for him, which is a bummer because like the original Goron champion, who like is in Breath of the Wild, there's like the whole part that's in the past, 100 years ago, before Link gets gravely injured and put to sleep, and 100 years later, where the game takes place, right? So like when all the flashback sequences, the original Goron champion is this awesome dude named Daruk. He's fantastic. He's just
Daruk.
awesome. And then like they
Big
replace
Daruk
all the
over
champions
here.
with like then the 100 years later, like their descendants are, because all the champions get murdered by Ganon. They have to like reawaken as their ancestors or whatever. And like all of them are good. Like the original Zora champion was this girl Mifa, who was like, she's fine. But like her replacement is this dude named Sidon, who's fucking amazing, and he's great in Tears of the Kingdom as well. Same thing with there's a little kid who takes over for Rivali. Rivali is great because he is quite literally Falco from Star Fox. He looks like him, he acts like him, he sounds like him. He's basically just Falco. And they replaced him with this cool little kid named Tulin. I haven't done the Gerudo one yet, and I don't remember what there's a young girl who took over for Urbosa, but like this little kid Goron Yunobo takes over for Daruk, and he's just this whiny little like, I can do it, and like, God, shut up, please shut up,
God, please shut the fuck up.
But the boss fight they had to do with him was really cool. So I get to the top of Death Mountain, and like. The whole thing is the whole thing with all the temples is that like there's some sort of natural phenomenon going on with some sort of like evil shits doing things that are affecting the environment. When you get to the Gorons, it's like all the Gorons are addicted to eating this weird rock that's all like glowy and evil.
Okay.
So like you go to the top of Death Mountain and like it explodes, and these three like dragon heads come out of these like holes in the top of the volcano, and you have to like fly on this flying machine and like throw the Yunobo guy. So he's a Goron, so he can roll up into a ball a bit like a rock, but he can roll up into a flaming rock. So he like attaches himself to the front of your flying machine, and you have to launch him at these dragon heads. It's just It was really easy, but it was super cool.
That's awesome.
I did the Fire Temple, which was neat, and then the boss was a new form of Goma, which is I love it when they reinvent like bosses from Zelda 1, and they've redone Goma a ton of times. This one was like I forget what it's called. It's like a magma rock Goma or something like that, and it was pretty easy, not as easy as the Water Temple boss that I just flat out embarrassed and built that machine that John invented to make water shoot all over the place. But no, this guy was still fairly easy, but it was a really cool fight. So the game refuses to disappoint. Other than that, the only other thing I did was I played a little more of that Double Dragon, which I can talk about the first chunk of it now officially. I've been playing Double Dragon Gaiden for Switch. I got an early code for it. One of the problems the big problem I have with the game is its loading times are atrocious on the Switch. I mean, I'm talking like
that sucks.
Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze level on Wii U levels of atrocious, like 30 to 45 seconds of loading.
Yeesh.
And that's not an exaggeration. I counted that shit, like unbelievable loading times.
That sucks, man.
Once it gets going, it's not so bad, but like getting started up is a slog. They have said that there's a few updates being pushed before the game launches, so I'm hoping that the loading times on the Switch get taken care of. But the game itself is really freaking cool. It is a lot more complex than Streets of Rage or Ninja Turtles, but it's not so complex that it becomes inaccessible.
Okay.
So the whole thing is kind of built around this tag / super meter, right? So you have this meter that builds up every time that you hit somebody, and once the meter is full, you can either tag your partner in, or you can or you can do a super move. Now this thing fills super quick, right? So it's not like you're waiting 15 minutes between being able to switch characters. Like you're waiting 30 to 40 seconds to a minute to be able to switch between your characters or do another super move. Like it fills really quickly. You always have two characters, and you pick a run. God, I'm getting lost in my own thoughts here, right? So when you play the game, you'll actually do different runs, right? It's got kind of like a roguelike element, whereas like you pick these two characters and that's who you have until you decide that run is over. Like you can get a game over and you can be like, well, you can continue, but you're going to lose half your shit, or you can say this is the end of my game, cash out, and then you have to start over again. But you get to keep all the things that you gained, right? So every time you beat a level, you can choose like one power-up for each of your characters, and that kind of stuff continues to build and build, so the game gets easier the more you play it. And you can play the levels in whatever order you want. There isn't like a level 1, level 2. It's like you can choose between the different gang bosses in whatever order you want to. So you can kind of like continue to mess around with different stages every time you play.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool. It's really, really cool. And I don't typically like roguelikes like that, I guess. Like, I couldn't get into Dead Cells or whatever. But what's neat about this is the way it's presented is like you're getting tokens for playing the arcade, like it's all presented in this very like arcadey type of thing. So like all these things that you're getting are treating it like, when you play something like, look at something like Dead Cells or like Hades, it's like you do all these different runs, and it's just that's the core of the game, is you have to do these different runs. But this is Double Dragon, which is an arcade game, and that's exactly how you used to play the arcade game. Like, I only got $2 in quarters, so once I'm out of quarters, I'll have to go back and do this again when I get a couple more dollars. But I learned from playing through it this time that I'll get a little bit farther next time. So that core essence of like being a kid with limited finances playing an arcade game and continuously getting better at it, it kind of takes that notion and applies it to a roguelite kind of beat 'em up on the home consoles, and it's presented so brilliantly.
That's really cool.
It is really cool. The move sets are great. Every character's different. Like Billy and Jimmy Lee both have different move sets, and I'm still on my first run because I haven't had a ton of time to put into the game. So I just picked Billy and Jimmy Lee. So I haven't played as Marianne or Uncle Mateen, which cracks my shit up because they made a character based on like in the very first Double Dragon, the garage, above the garage that you walk out, it says Matin. So they made this new character Uncle Mateen, and that was his garage. It's fucking great. Bless you. It's difficult. It does have a decent amount of challenge, but I guess that's to encourage you to power up your characters and then go back and play it again and again to get better and better. It feels really good to play. Like it has that. You start off moving pretty slowly, which again is a very Double Dragon thing. But one of the things that can show up as a power up that you get for beating a stage is to make your characters move a little bit faster. So that's nice. But just the act of playing it doesn't feel hollow. It doesn't feel like sometimes you'll play a beat 'em up and it's like these attacks don't seem to have the right level of weight to them, and that is not the case with this game. It feels really good to do the combos. It does so you get extra points for finishing a combo with a super move. The problem is that some of the your super moves can be interrupted very easily. So like you don't have any real invincibility frames when you're doing your super moves. So like Jimmy's is Jimmy the red one? I never remember. Whatever the blonde-haired one of the red, his super is like
matter. It's fine.
One of his supers is like this dash forward move that he does, and then he goes into this really cool combo and knocks you out, which is great. The problem is that like doing that one in a stage where there's like these girls with guns halfway across the stage, if you start that up while that's happening, and then while that's happening, a character that wasn't there before walks over and shoots you while you're doing it, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't like break out of your super move and like there's no way to see that coming. Like you can't predict that this AI character is going to back off and do that. So it's like it's kind of obnoxious. Like I wish the combo finishers had invincibility frames, because with them not doing that, because they should, and it makes it really difficult to not get frustrated. So, but I'm not far enough into it to say for sure that that's not something you can earn. I watched Matt McMuscle's video on Double Dragon on this game yesterday, because he just posted.
He's the big Double Dragon guy, right?
Yes, he's the one who did the Double Dragon thing. Did what happened, and he mentioned that same thing. I was like, okay, good, I'm not crazy. But then he said, but it might be a perk you can unlock later. It's like, I didn't think of that. Maybe it's a power up, because that would be freaking cool. Because if that's the case, then all of a sudden all is forgiven. It's like, oh, this is really clever. So
I don't know. I disagree that is a cool power up. That feels like some should be unlocked shit to me. Like, but that's just coming from old school, like beat 'em up. There is that invincibility frame in the middle of your combo, like that. You're just kind of expecting it to play that way. You know what I mean?
I get that, and
I don't know.
I don't know that I disagree with you.
Not
but
an
I do
unforgivable
think,
sin.
Not an unforgivable sin.
But
here's how I weigh that, right? Because on one hand, yes, that is kind of how it should be, but also like how rewarding would it be to unlock that? And I don't know how to weigh that against like, all right, is it worth having to suffer through that being kind of annoying right now, as opposed to how powerful am I going to feel if I unlock it? And that's only if it isn't unlockable. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like an oversight and it'll get patched in an update or something like that. But either way, Double Dragon Gaiden, I still don't like the artwork all that much. It's very expressive, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I just don't really like the way the characters look. They got this kind of like weird, almost chibi look to them. The enemies look really cool. Like, the Abobo looks really cool. I saw him in the trailer. I haven't encountered him in the game yet. But and there's also like a ton of characters to unlock, so I'm curious who they are. But yeah, I don't love the art style. It's not like Monkey Island, where it's like it's really distracting, because like I just kind of forget about it while I'm playing, because it's got such a great personality. It's got a really weird focus on food. Like when you do certain kinds of combos, you win all these awards, and they award you with food, which like helps you refill your health and stuff. But it's always like hot dog bonus, and you get this big, it stops the action, and this big like hot dog shows up on the screen. It's like, yay, you won a hot dog, and then you just carry it back to the action. It's super fast. It doesn't bother me at all. It was one of the things that Matt McMuscles pointed out in his video, that he thought it got kind of cumbersome. It has yet to bother me in the least. I find it extremely rewarding, because it only stops for like a split second, where it's just like, boom, you did this thing, and then it goes right back into the action. It's just like, it also kind of gives me this quick breathing room, because a lot of times they come from what do they call them, like crowd control moves, where like if you're surrounded by a bunch of dudes, then finally you break out of that, and then you get like a hamburger award. And it just stops everything for a split second. Be like, you got this hamburger. And then it goes back to the game. Like, all right, that gave me like a split second to breathe, and now I'm going to eat this hamburger. It's a freaking good game. It is such an exciting Double Dragon game, because it really feels like an evolution of beat 'em ups in a way that I hadn't seen before. Like, obviously, I love Ninja Turtles, and I love Streets of Rage 4. I think I have high hopes for Toxic Crusaders. Like, there's a really fun resurgence of good beat 'em ups happening right now, but this is a really cool take on the genre. And after my extreme distaste for Double Dragon 4, this is like really refreshing, because Double Dragon 4, man, like I keep feeling like I need to play it again and try a little harder, but like every time I think about it, it's like I hate how lazy the visuals were, and like I mean that, there's nothing wrong with using pixelized graphics. There's nothing even wrong with going back to like some old style sprites and everything, but this was just flat out lazy. Like they didn't try to make the sprites match each other. They're using Double Dragon 1, 2, and 3 sprites that use different art styles. Like it felt like a lazy game, and I don't like feeling that way, but apparently there are some redeeming qualities in the game, but I just don't feel like putting the time into it because it just wasn't fun. But this one is extraordinarily fun. I cannot wait to try it multiplayer. I have yet to play it with somebody else, but I got a couple of friends who have agreed to come over and give it a shot with me, as well as 1-2 Switch sometime in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully I'll have that to properly report on by the time I have to review it. Also, the music rules. The music is so good. I've only recognized a couple of songs that are really great remixes of classic Double Dragon tunes, but even the stuff that I don't think was, apparently there's a handful of really great remixes from Super Double Dragon for Super Nintendo, but I don't know that game very well, so they just sound like new songs to me. But I'm loving the music. It's great. So big fat thumbs up so far.
That's awesome.
Quite.
Well,
all right, you ready to talk about? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this week I finished Rogue Legacy 2. It was really good. I really liked it. It's again, very similar to you. I'm not a big roguelite kind of guy. But this one, just the original Rogue Legacy, like really clicked with me, and this one was just really fun. I did end up finishing it before unlocking everything. Like there were still, I think, 1 or 2 more character classes to have to unlock. Because there's like some super ridiculous shit for you to unlock in this game. Like one of them is a chef, and you walk around with a frying pan, and when you hit shit with your frying pan, it causes burn damage as well, which is just absurd and wonderful, and I love it. And then I ended up mostly using assassins throughout the game because they have like this really quick like 3/ attack for each time you press the button. And it just, like, once I unlocked that character class, then I started, like, really making progress through the game, which is really nice. And they do a pretty cool thing where, as you're going through the game, one of the characters that you unlock is the architect. And if you give the architect enough money, the architect will keep the dungeon in the same layout as it was the last time you went through. So, like, if you like a particular layout, if you got particularly far and you don't want to have to, relearn a new layout to get to the different areas and whatnot, you can do that. Or they also give you an option. You unlock a pizza delivery girl, because why not? And why not? She is there's 6 different areas for you to get to. And, you start off like in the basic area. So there's ultimately 5 different portals that you can unlock, and it's like 1,500 gold or something like that, like in-game currency to unlock it, which you earn way more than enough currency as you're playing through. Like, the game is actually pretty generous, and you can also get certain character classes where they will, like, double your gold, or the only thing that drops out of, like candles and books and whatever other Castlevania-like shit that you hit with your sword. It'll only be gold that drops out of there, like no health pickups. So you can kind of structure it in a way to unlock things a little bit quicker. But you can unlock all of her portals so that as soon as you enter the dungeon, or the castle, I guess, there's a portal right at the very first screen. And if you've unlocked other shit permanently with her, she'll keep that open, and you don't have to bother going through the rest of, like, what would be traditionally considered stage 1, stage 2, whatever, to get to stage 5. You can just warp to stage 5 because that's where you died last time. So there's a lot of, like, there were a lot of quality of life improvements over the original one. And the game's just really fun. It just plays really well. The characters are all they're super joyful. Like, as you're going through, they really just have this look on their face like, I'm just so happy to fucking be here. This is great. I can't wait to get into this dungeon and figure some shit out and fuck some, like, floating eyeballs up. It's gonna be awesome. And it was great. Really big bosses with, like, interesting patterns to learn, and very old school feeling for like the boss fights. It felt like, really like screen filling Mega Man bosses. We're like, okay, I'm figuring out the pattern now, and I can jump in here and do XYZ, whatever. all of the permanent upgrades that you unlock, like air dashes and double jumps and all of that stuff, it's really doled out at a really good pace, to where just when you're starting to be like, fuck, I really wish I had a fucking double jump, at this point you're like, oh look, the double jump, sweet. It just does this really wonderful job of pacing the game out, to where right when you're getting to that frustration level, it gives you the next little bit that you need to go through, like, all right, well, one more playthrough. And it's really, really fun. And I suggest everybody play it. And even better, you don't need to have played the first one. Like, there are some connections, and like there's some cheeky references and whatnot, but you don't have to have played through the first one to be like, well, I'm just missing so much of the story. You can totally jump into this game. But the other thing that I have just recently started, and I'm kind of torn, man, because, all right, so do you know anything about Inscription?
No.
Okay. Inscription is a game that is currently available for everything, but it was originally available on Windows, and it came out in October of 2021. So we're almost 2 years into it. It came out on PS5 in August of last year, so it's been out for about a year. Switch of December of last year, and Xbox April of last year. So the game's been out for 1 to 2 years, depending on what platform you would play it for. But even still, I don't want to spoil what happens in this game. It's all right. So Inscription is it's a card building game, like a deck builder, that starts off like a found footage horror movie style thing. Like, it's really weird. So you see this, like, this footage of a vlogger, for lack of a better term, finding a floppy disk that has this game on it, and you put the disk into a computer, and that's where the startup screen is. And it's the weirdest thing. Like, when I started the game earlier in the week, I was like, all right, but I can only continue. Like, you can only continue the game. There is no new game. There is a box for new game, but you can't select it. So it's like, all right, that's kind of weird. And when you continue the game, it's like you're jumping into somebody else's life that had been playing this game against this weird fucking, like, monster looking dude named Leshy. Okay, you're in a cabin, and it's from a first person perspective, and you're playing this card game, and a couple of your cards talk to you. You start off with a stoat, and the stoat starts talking to you, and then, like, in between matches of this card game that you're playing against Leshy, you can walk around the cabin, and there's different stuff to unlock, like there's different secrets and shit. And you find, like, as you solve these puzzles in the cabin, you find different cards, and eventually you find a stink bug, and the stink bug starts talking to you, and they start filling you in that there is more going on than it seems, right? And then you find another card called the Stunted Wolf, and that starts to talk to you, and it just unravels this fucking story. And as you're playing it, Leshy is kind of talking to you like a dungeon master, almost, and like telling you about your journey. And when you come across different characters on this map, because you're like moving from place to place in between card games on this little map, and he's got little figurines and trees and shit, and there's different like icons that you can go to. You'll come across like a woodcutter, and Leshy will put on a mask and like act as if they're a different person and telling you the story. much in like the way that a really good dungeon master would. And then eventually you get through enough of it to where it becomes something entirely unexpected. And that's the part that I don't want to spoil, even though it's been out, because this was a Daniel Mullins games. I don't know who Daniel Mullins is. I don't know what other stuff Daniel Mullins has done. I know Daniel Mullins Games has like a couple different things out, but they're like pretty low key, whatever, indie games. It was published by Devolver Digital, and Devolver Digital doesn't fuck around. Like, they don't put out bad shit. It's just really fucking cool, man.
Agreed.
Like, this is a really, really interesting, really cool game that there's permadeath, but not really, because when you lose the game, like, Leshy tells you to get up and walk around, and it's really clever the way it starts telling you all the different things that you can do, because you don't even really realize that you can get up and move around the cabin until he tells you to get up and go get a candlestick holder. And you come over and you bring the candlestick holder back to the table, and Leshy tells you that, there's 2 flames lit, so you can make 2 mistakes. And when you make 2 mistakes, you have to be sacrificed. And when you lose and you make those 2 mistakes, because you're just simply, your deck isn't big enough or strong enough at the beginning to get past him, you wake up in this room and he's got a camera, and you make like a death card for your player that will eventually be in your deck. But to do it, you have to like sacrifice other cards from your deck. It sounds really fucking complicated, but it really, really works, and it's really interesting, and the art style is really cool. And then the fucking twist happens, and you're like, dear God, I did not at all expect that. And it's fucking awesome, and I'm so, so happy that I started playing this game. If anybody else has played Inscription, like, I can't imagine that there's another, like, it's a twist. Like, I can't imagine there's another gigantic twist in the game, but it's such a big, massive thing. It was so cool. I hope everybody else enjoyed it. And if you haven't played it, oh my God, please pick this up. It is so fucking cool.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
I've not tried it, but I love hearing you talk about things that you like that much.
I'm so blown away. Like, and it's one of the things that really fascinates me, right? Of how, 43 years into life, and, fucking 40 of those years playing video games, how there can still be these things that come out where I'm like, oh my God, it's just this incredible, I wasn't expecting that. I can still be impressed and surprised and, just completely taken by a game. Kind of, like, remember when we were talking about The Messenger, and like you're playing through The Messenger and you're like, oh my God, this is a completely new thing. Like, that level of like shock and like, you motherfuckers, you cheeky bastard, well done you. And this kind of has that same kind of like, you motherfucker, all right, I see what you're doing. I fully support it. This is great. I'm so excited. Let's keep going. Like, man, such a cool fucking game.
Wonderful.
And then, like Pad and Snap and whatever.
Because why not?
Snap did a really interesting thing. They pushed out a new update this week. And I'm really torn on it, right? Because Snap is advertised, right? And I say advertised intentionally as a free-to-play game, right? As a lot of mobile games are advertised as free-to-play. And I'm not really sure. And like, this week I kind of stopped reading the Snap Reddit, and I left the Snap Discord. And it's just, I'm not really sure why people think that in a free-to-play game, they are entitled to the same things as the people who spend money on the game. Right? Like, it's free to play, sure, but it wasn't free to make, it's not free to run, and shockingly enough, Second Dinner, as a company, doesn't exist just to make other people happy.
The company's called Second Dinner?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, they're a company. It's pay to win. Every fucking mobile game is pay to win. Every single one of them. I don't care that it's advertised as free to play. They have to make money.
It is free to play.
It is. Yeah, you can play it
for free.
For free. And like, because they made a change this week where it used to be, you know, when you start the game, you just get cards all the time. You're just building up your deck. And eventually you hit Series 3, or collection level, Pool 3, sorry. So you've gotten all the Pool 1's cards, all the Pool 2. You might have a Pool, like, 4 or 5 card, depending on if you bought a Season Pass or not. But you've got Pool 1 and 2. And then once you get to Pool 3, you start to get other things in the collector's reserves, or the collector caches, as opposed to just cards and like boosters and whatever. You get credits, you got tokens, you got gold, you got titles, you got avatars, you sometimes got cards, you sometimes got cosmetics, so variants of your cards, like all of this different stuff that you could get. And the tokens were really great because that's how you spent those on cards that were released that you hadn't gotten yet. So if like a card came out and it was 3,000 tokens, well, after a couple weeks of playing, I will have opened up enough, you know, collector's caches or whatever to get these 3,000 tokens, and I can buy this card so that I have it and I can play with it. Or if I want to save a little bit longer, I can save up 6,000 for a higher level card, whatever. Okay? The way that you do that is through upgrading your cards, which you upgrade your cards through credits. And then the other in-game currency is gold. And gold you can buy with real money. That's used to buy variants. It's also used to buy credits, right? So I could spend $100 on gold and then transfer or convert all of that gold into credits, up my collection levels, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully unlock these cards. Okay? What they did this time around is that now they have taken out Series 4 and Series 5, or Pool 4 and Pool 5 cards. You can no longer get in the collector's caches. As you progress in the levels, you cannot pull those cards in. You can still pull Pool 3 if you don't have all the Pool 3 cards. You can still pull variants. You can no longer pull gold. And they also lowered the amount of collector's tokens you got from the minimum you used to get was 100. You would sometimes get 200, sometimes 400, sometimes 300, or 600. Now you get 50 or 100. So they effectively made it where it used to take a month to save up 6,000 tokens for a card. It now takes on average, with the amount of, you know, averages and whatever, what people typically play, it would take you about 6 months to save up 6,000 tokens, which is not great, right? That's not ideal. Going from a month to now 6 months, that kind of sucks. They did make it easier to get the featured card because they added a thing called Spotlight Caches. And in the Spotlight Cache, you can get a new card, featured Series 4 or 5 cards. There's a couple of them, a featured variant, and then a random Series 4 or 5 card. And that's the one that I personally have a problem with. In this card building game, in this deck building game, there had been duplicate protection the entire time. You're only going to get a card once, right? Because you can only have one of a card in your deck. You can't have multiple, like you can't split a card into a bunch of different like effects and variants and cosmetics and put all of them in your deck. You just can't do it. So now they took away the duplicate protection in the spotlight caches. So if you open one up and you get a card that you already have, you are forced to convert that card into a random variant. And these are series 4 and 5 cards. So theoretically, right, these are the better, harder to get cards. So it's like, fuck, I already have this card, it's really good, and now I'm going to get a random variant for a card that I potentially will never use. And like, it really sucks because I love Galactus, right? I love the Galactus card. It pisses people off. It's a fun card to play. It's a fun archetype to mess with. If I open up Galactus and I already have Galactus and I'm like, all right, well, shit, I'm going to get a variant. I could get a variant for, I don't know, fucking Crystal, who I've literally never played. And it's like, all right, well, like, thank you, but I don't. If it gave me a variant of Galactus, that would be better. You know? I do think that the lack of duplicate protection in there is kind of bullshit, because if I can pull duplicates, then I should be able to use duplicates. Right? That seems to make sense.
That tracks.
Right? Like, there was duplicate protection because I can't use this card more than once in a deck. But if I can now pull it twice, I should be able to have fucking 2 of them in a deck. Like, that's just... So, I think that should be fixed. I don't love this new system. What I don't understand, though, is that if you go onto the Reddit or the Discord or on Twitter, and I know what those places are, and I know, you know, it's the internet and all of those things, but my God, like, people take this game way too seriously. Like, I know we take things a little bit more seriously, but we, like, do a podcast and we talk about it. You know, like, you're just a dude, like, you're coming on Reddit to make the same post that literally 50 other people have made before you. Like, put the game down, man. You'll be all right. These guys don't owe you shit. Like, it's a pay-to-win game. It is still free to play. It will always be free to play. Why would you think you get everything that people who spend hundreds of dollars do? That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a weird entitlement thing. I don't get it. I really don't.
People believe that they're entitled to everything. I mean, that's just kind of a... What is it? There was a whole story on Twitter going around this week about this woman who considered herself a rather popular influencer. She went to a restaurant and she told the owner that she said that there was like some of the best food she had in her life. And then she told the owner that she was an influencer, and the owner was like, good for you.
Cool.
And didn't give her... And she gave the restaurant 1 star because he didn't take anything off of her bill because she was an influencer.
Fuck you. It's
like, it's some of the best food you ever had in your life, but one star because they didn't give you money off of your order
because they didn't suckle at the teat.
You deserve it.
That is you. It's fucking weird, man. It would be like complaining that you bought the $60 version of Mario Kart and somebody else who bought the $60 version of Mario Kart and paid for the online package and got all the DLC. It would be like complaining that you don't have the DLC. Well, like, no, you don't. That wasn't hidden. Like, if they spent more money on it. Like, now, do I agree do I agree with paywalls and DL? Like, none of that matters, whether or not I agree. But complaining that you don't have it because somebody else does is like, all right, man, like, go outside for a little bit. You'll be all right. It's going to be okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like a dick sometimes, like, the way I feel about these things. But, like, I've spent, Puzzle and Dragons, right? I've spent over the almost decade or whatever the fuck it is that I've been playing this game, I've spent a lot of money on this game. I should have more shit than somebody who hasn't. Like, just law of averages. Not because I deserve it, but because I've had more access to it. That just makes sense. That's how things work. Nobody's here to Like,
yeah, none the products aren't charities.
They're not. It's a company.
Because in order to make more products, they need to make some money.
They're not here like, and that I think is the thing I don't understand. Of like, do you think that like video game companies are just like, we're gonna make a game for Bob? So we want Bob to have a new game to play. Like, they don't give a fuck about you.
Nintendo did that once. Remember during the pandemic, they released that jump rope game for free? And like, here it is. We made this because you're all stuck in your house. Make your kids jump up and down.
Yeah.
It never cost anything. It was just complete altruism. But that is an extraordinary rarity.
They would never do that with Mario.
No, they wouldn't make a new... That game probably took somebody like 20 minutes to put together. Like, that's nothing.
Like,
yeah, and that's
Mario
not
Brothers Wonder or whatever this new one that's coming out, like, it's going to be $60. They're not just going to give it to you.
No, they're not. Of course they're not. And they shouldn't.
Somebody had to, like...
The whole team of people had to make that game, you know?
It's a weird thing that exists, particularly within the mobile gaming sector, because so many games are advertised as free to play that and apps and like have conditioned people, like we're in this world now where you are expecting quite a bit for your 99 cents. You know what I mean? Like, you expect a whole bunch.
That was a whole bunch of that race to the bottom, and everybody gave Nintendo shit when they released Super Mario Run for like what was honestly a reasonable price given the amount of content that was in the game, but not compared to everything else on the mobile market, because that race to the bottom was just like, no, your game has to be $2 or less or nobody's going to buy it. And the game did okay, but it was trounced because, they had the they had the nerve to charge what they thought the game was worth. And they quickly learned that market has zero interest in that kind of product. They just don't.
It's just not a thing that exists. And like the wildest thing, I'm trying to look it up real quick as we're talking about it, because like these free-to-play games, like they make a fuck ton of money.
They
like
do.
Such a ridiculous amount of money. There was the biggest mobile game right now is one I downloaded and I haven't played yet. It's called Honkai Star Rail. It's coming to PlayStation relatively soon. It might be coming to the other platforms as well. But I'm trying to pull up the monthly earnings because I just saw it the other day, and like somebody posted something about it, and like worldwide it made, oh god damn it, why is it not pulling up? Maybe it's under monthly revenue. I want to give the exact number because it is an absurd amount of fucking shit. Let me see. All right.
Well, while you're looking it up, you know how I always have like food videos playing in the background. I've seen two things of extraordinary interest so far. One was that apparently Burger King in Thailand has what they're calling the true cheeseburger, which is no burger. It's just like 14 slices of cheese.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
It's just like 14 slices of American cheese on a bun. Looks fucking horrible.
That sounds just like the worst thing I can possibly imagine. All right.
Legit surprised that's not America. But the other one that I saw is, and I've seen people do this before, but I feel that it's worth noting that like it's this deli that took a giant pickle, cored it, and then just filled it with lunch meat and cheese and mustard and bacon. And I really want to have a pickle sub.
Yeah.
That seems like a really good time.
All right. I just looked it up.
All right. How much?
Honkai Star Rail.
$14 million.
How much?
$14 million.
$14 million. Worldwide for May. Just for May.
Just for May. Oh, we're going for a month?
Just for May. Yeah.
My guess is 58 million.
81.
Wow.
$81 million just for the month of May. There's another game, Nikke, Nikke. I have never heard of this game. Have you heard of this game?
Nope.
Now, I don't say that as in we know everything, but between the two of us, most things cross into our purview at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
This game, in the month of May, that neither you or I, who are tuned into this, have ever heard of worldwide, made $32 million just in the month of May.
I wish I could make $32 million in the month of May.
So, like, this is what a free-to-play game is.
Yeah, everybody's chasing after that.
You know, and like, now most of them don't make that much. You know what I mean? Like, those are kind of the highest performing ones. But there are other ones on here. Punishing Gray Raven. Whatever the fuck that is. I've never heard of that. $700,000. Path to Nowhere. $500,000. Counterside. $400,000. Outer Plane. $400,000. What the fuck are any of these games that are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a month?
Bananas.
But people are like, but I should have the same thing for free. And like, it's just fucking weird. And like, I just pulled up June's report. Now, Honkai Star Rail went down 81 million in May to 54 million in June. But even still, in 2 months this year, that game has made over $100 million fucking dollars. That's absurd. That's incredible. And good for them. I would like to be this fucking Grimlight, the very last one on this image, and made $10,000 in the month of June and $12,000 in May. I don't fucking make that much. We're in the wrong line of work, Kris.
Yeah, we are. We should be cranking out mobile games.
We really should. I got some ideas.
All right. Well, tell you what. This is trucking along here pretty long.
Thoroughly.
So let's cover LRG3,
okay,
right? Because that was kind of nuts. And then we'll do a quick game preservation talk. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I love this presentation of going back in time to save E3.
Yeah. That was pretty great.
Yeah, pretty wonderful. The really low budget look that's just like, big old thumbs up. Good job. Let's see here. First thing they showed was a big surprise, Castlevania Advance Collection getting a physical release.
Yeah, I really like this. I kind of want this physical, but like,
I wanted that other one physical and I never got around to it. And it's like, it's one of those things like, well, I actually have the games physical, right. So do I need this physical? Like, it's a really nice collection, and it's got, what is it, 4 alternate covers or something?
Yeah, you pick
based
your
on the
cover
4 games that are in it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
I
would absolutely.
But seeing as I have the originals physically,
Sorrow.
Yeah, I think that's the cover to go with for sure. I don't know. It's unexpected. I'm sorry, not unexpected. It's completely expected,
yeah.
But not unwelcome. Like, that's, of course they were going to do this. They did the last one, so naturally they're going to do this. No question.
Have you seen the different editions of it though?
No, I have not.
So the classic edition, and this is Switch, Xbox, PS4, and PC. All of these are for those 4 systems. Classic edition is $70. Copy of the game, extra cover sheets, so you'll get all 4 coverage sheets, soundtrack CD, a poster, and classic silver box packaging. So that gets you, that's $10 more than what it would be. All right, the Advance Edition, $85. Physical copy of the game, extra cover sheets, soundtrack selection, poster, steelbook, and oversized Game Boy Advance box throwback packaging. Okay, now the one that I want, because I'm an asshole and I fucking love these games, is $175 for the Ultimate Edition, which has the everything that's in the Advanced Edition. It includes a soundtrack that is upgraded to as they say here, a comprehensive 3-disc collection of music on CD, maps for each of the 3 Game Boy Advance games, miniature cartridge keychains for each of the 4 titles in the collection, a set of 20 dual setup system cards, a set of 4 cover art lithographs, and a light and sound shadow box. It's got DSS cards?
What?
Yes.
That's great.
And a light and sound shadow box. That's $175. I might...
Wow, $175. That is still less expensive than a complete in box copy of just Aria of Sorrow.
I know. I might sell some titty pics to see if I can't get that one. That's pretty dope.
Wow. Because, currently Harmony of Dissonance, 166. Let's see if I can do this in order. Complete in box copies of the games in this collection. Circle of the Moon is at the bottom at $90.
Right.
Next up, Harmony of Dissonance, $166.
Okay.
Next up, Aria of Sorrow, $200. And weighing in at a lofty $968, Castlevania Dracula X.
So for the bargain basement price of $1,424, you could have these 4 games in their original form, or for $175, you could play them on your system of choice and also have keychains, which is fucking awesome.
It comes with DSS cards. I find that's the coolest. I love that.
That's really cool. And honestly, for all of this stuff, right? Because that's also the poster and the steelbook and the oversized Game Boy Advance. It's all the stuff from the Advance Edition. It's really not a crazy price for those 4 games.
No, it's not.
Those are unbelievably good games.
They really are.
Even Circle of the Moon.
What do you mean even?
Well, because that game was very frustrating when it first came out. But once you were able to play with a light and see it, it was oh, this is a fucking great game. Great.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the next game on the list was
Pick of the Whole of Justice.
Rise of the Triad Ludicrous Edition. I nearly stood up and applauded. I used to play Rise of the Triad with my friend Adam eons ago. What a ridiculous game. I love that it's in ludicrous HD. Just big fat thumbs up. I don't know if I'm going to try and get this. I feel like this was remastered on Switch or is being remastered on Switch. I don't remember.
I just can't imagine playing it that much.
Yeah, exactly. I go back. I've spent the few dollars I spent to buy Doom on Switch. I have replayed Doom on Switch half a dozen times.
And the $5 that you spent on it was more than worth it.
Yeah, but I didn't buy the physical edition. I probably should have, considering the original Doom is one of my all-time favorite games.
For sure. But still,
I really should have bought the classic collection physically, because I don't own a physical. I think I have a physical version of Doom for original Xbox, so I do have a physical Doom somewhere around these parts.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to either way. Rise of the Triad, completely ridiculous. I love it. Then there was how do you pronounce this thing?
Komaju Remilia Scarlet Symphony.
Scarlet Symphony.
This game looked fucking dope. I don't know anything about this, but I was this looks like Castlevania. I'm in.
Yeah, this is definitely a Castlevania adjacent experience, and it's got lots of screamy anime chicks.
Yep, super into it. You know me.
Yeah,
you say Castlevania adjacent, and I'm I'm already unzipping. I'm there. I'm in.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it, but looks neat.
I can say Scarlet Symphony though, and that's how I will describe it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Let's see. Next up, M2 shot triggers. We've got Tiger Heli. Was this a collection?
The Toaplan Arcade Garage.
There it is.
Because it had a couple things.
Let's see. Definitive port of a Toaplan classic, Tiger Heli.
Which is a great fucking game.
The game comes with its overseas version, Twin Cobra. That's cool. I didn't know Twin Cobra and Tiger Heli were the same game.
Yeah.
and it's got the NES version. I used to see, like, I've never played the arcade version, but I played a lot of then it's got Getstar. I don't know what that is, but either way, I played a ton of Tiger Heli on NES. I used to rent that one a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's pretty
game. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
know if the NES game is great per se, but the I played a lot of it.
Yeah, this is a really cool collection. Not something that I wouldn't necessarily run to buy this, like physically, but I thought this was really cool.
This next one, though, I will absolutely run physically to buy. We found out about this, last week they announced this, that they're basically Digital Eclipse is taking what they did to Atari 50 and applying it to individual games.
Yeah.
And I am fucking thrilled. It's called the Goldmaster series, and it is just like what they did with Atari 50, where it's filled with interviews and an interactive timeline, as playing the game isn't the one singular focus. It's playing through the game's timeline,
learning about the game and the history of it.
All the design documents and pictures, and oh my god, I could not be happier. I cannot wait to see more of this happen. I hope this is a big success. Obviously, Atari 50 was a big enough success to warrant them moving forward with this plan. But I really hope that this one's a big success and they can continue to do these things, because this is beyond preservation. This isn't just making sure the game's available for future generations. Right. This is making sure the history, why this game is important. And Karateka is an important game, and it's one that I've never played.
Oh, I fucking love it was just kind of game.
It wasn't really on platforms that I was using at the time. I've never played it. I just know of its importance and how it eventually led to Prince of Persia, and I'm really excited to give this game. I'm really excited to learn about this game. I'm not even all that excited to properly play Karateka. I'm just really excited to learn all about it, and I will absolutely be getting this physically. I will buy as many of these Gold Series games as I can afford, because I just think that's brilliant.
I think this is so cool, and Karateka was a game that I called as a child Karateka, because you're
not alone. People were saying that in the they made a whole thing of that in the trailer. People were pronouncing it different ways.
I played a ton of this game when I was a kid, because as a young martial arts obsessed, Shaw Brothers and all of that stuff kid, this game was right up my alley, and it was just something that we just happened to have a couple fucking floppy disks, not 3/4-inch floppies, but actual floppy disks, and playing this when I was a kid, man. And it was so hard when I was a kid, because it was so different from Mario and Kid Icarus and Metroid and whatever. But as I got older and grew to appreciate it, and then I didn't fucking know it was this led into Prince of Persia. I didn't fucking know that when I was a kid. I was look at this other new game that is completely unlike anything else I've ever played, because I don't pay attention to shit. I'm 7. But learning about the lineage was so fucking cool. And then to see this is the kind of thing, I agree with you 100% of what a cool way to present these older titles and have this interactive digital experience. Is so fucking cool. I'm super into it.
More
of this, please.
I'm so excited. Just keep it coming. Digital Eclipse, you're
can we have them back on the show so we can just say thank you? Just be like, thanks, man. That's it. Go away now. We're going to talk about yard work.
I will try. Let's see if we can get Steven back on here and just be like, just we love you. Can we just tell you that for a half an hour and then move on with our lives? It'd be great. So this next one is, we talked about this a little earlier. Next up, they showed off the pre-orders for the Ninja Turtles vinyl series, which is a lot.
It's a lot. And as you were talking about it earlier, one of the things I wanted to say, with the way that they're going about it, I feel like the best value is the cassette tape. I feel like $15 for the cassette tape of the first Ninja Turtles game on NES is probably that's about worth it. But like, it really should have, the NES games really should have been one vinyl. Like, they really should have been. This is the kind of thing where when I see companies doing this kind of thing, this feels like price gouging to me.
Well, on one hand, I have to see the prices for the other ones. I understand why they are as expensive as they are because it's the license.
Oh, they're all going to be $31, like, or $32, whatever it is. Like, almost guaranteed.
Now, if they're all that price, like the arcade one, like Turtles in Time arcade game, those that's enough music to really warrant that price. What confuses me is like, so the NES one at that price, it's like really right on the line, but like also getting the physical thing
is cool.
Even is cool. Like, okay, having a record to play and listen to that soundtrack, I'll get use out of that. But also while I'm listening to it, that artwork, the size of a vinyl record, is going to be on my wall. That is cool as shit. So that makes it the entire thing ultimately worth it. But then, like, you know, the Turtles 2 arcade game, great soundtrack. I'm not going to listen to it though. Like, I don't have music from that game really on my regular rotation. Like, maybe I guess the arcade version does have some cool stuff, but like, it's really pushing right up against whether or not I would actually listen to it. But that seems like a good value. But then after that is fall, the Foot Clan. So like, right, July is Ninja Turtles, August is Turtles 2, and then September is fall, the Foot Clan. Another one, like, that's a pretty cool ass soundtrack. That is some really great classic Konami soundtrack coming out of the Game Boy. But that is not a lot of music.
Not.
However, seeing that artwork that large sounds amazing. Like, I love the cover of Fall of the Foot Clan. And like, after that, you start to see like Manhattan Project is very silver box. It's a great cover, but it's like, yeah, okay, I don't love that game soundtrack. It's good stuff. Obviously, it's all good stuff. Like Turtles 2 Back from the Sewers, like that's a cover that looked good on a small box, but blown up. Like, yeah, it's not the best Turtles art I've ever seen. But Fall of the Foot Clan though is this real great. It's almost like, it's really great classic Turtles, but with the 4 different colored bandanas instead of all red. It's a really awesome
very
cover.
Evocative of
and like,
the Eastern Laird style. Yeah,
exactly. I would consider purchasing that just for that freaking cover. I want to listen to that soundtrack a couple of times and see if it sticks with me, because I didn't play a ton of that game as a kid because I didn't have it. And I could borrow it. I would borrow my friend's Game Boy from time to time, but like, that's one that I'm considering. Turtles in Time is like, that's another, that artwork is fucking amazing. I've always loved the cover of Turtles in Time.
And there's a decent amount of music in that.
The actual,
right?
There is, but again, is that one that I'm going to listen to? Like, I like that music a lot while I'm playing the game, but it's not music I go back to and listen to a lot on my own. Like, there's really good tunes, but it just doesn't fall into my, like, I listen to this music for fun without playing the game.
That's kind of the hard thing too, right? Because I have 2 video game vinyl, right? The ones you gifted. I have Mega Man 2 and 3, that collection, and the Battletoads, which I made my custom cover for this week because I got bored, and it came out really well, and I was pretty happy with it. But I don't put those records on and then sit down and listen to them. Right? Like, I put those on and then go do stuff. Like if I'm cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah, that's how I listen to music too.
But like with other stuff, like I went to a couple Goodwills this past week, and I got a ton of really good shit. I got like Arlo Guthrie's Hobo's Journey, which is just a fucking brilliant record. And I got this really cool Moog record. Like it's all Moog synthesizer shit. It's super weird. And the 2001 A Space Odyssey soundtrack. And then I got a couple Billy Joel records that I didn't have. And like when I put on Turnstiles, which is one of my favorite Billy Joel records, it's just a fucking brilliant record. It's really where like Billy Joel started to really expand out on the things that he did. Because like his first record, Cold Spring Harbor, is okay. It's really weird the way that album's recorded. Like, I don't know if you're a huge Billy Joel guy, Kris, but like,
not really. I mean, I don't dislike him. I'm just not overly familiar with his work. If you
go back and listen to Cold Spring Harbor, everything is super low in the mix. Like the way it was recorded, it's Billy Joel's voice and the piano are so fucking front and center, and everything else in the band is really, really low in the mix. And it was just it's not a great record, right? Like it's got She's Always a Woman, which is a fucking incredible song. But there's not a ton of like not a lot of songs from Cold Spring Harbor make the greatest hits cut, right? But then his second record is Piano Man. Piano Man's a fucking incredible record and such a jump forward as far as like musicianship and songwriting and all of those things. And then there's a couple things, and then you get to Turnstiles. Turnstiles is just, there's a lot of like experimentation, and it was an artist really coming into his own. So when I got that record for $2, because Goodwill's fucking awesome sometimes, like I put that on and I sit down and listen to that record. So all of this is a very long-winded way of saying that I don't know that any of these, even for the artwork, is worth the $32 price tag for a thing you're not going to sit there and be like, I'm going to be in my musical space and allow this to wash over me. You know, like with video game music, I feel that that's more of a background thing, and I'm going to be more annoyed that I got to flip the record every 12 minutes. You know what I mean? Because there's just not shit there.
See, I don't get annoyed. I like that. I like that whole experience. I like the thing I like about listening to putting on vinyl is that it's forcing me to listen to something in its entirety. Like I don't tend to put on albums unless like I'm specifically choosing an album from my shelf. Like when I look through my iPod or whatever to put on an album to listen to while I'm cooking or cleaning or doing something like that, I tend to just, skip things around. That's just not, it's just a different experience for me. And I don't always sit and just listen to the music, but like if I'm doing a perler beads or something like that, or if I'm writing or I'm working, I like to be able to put on like, there are certain video game soundtracks that I like that dedication to, like I'm listening to this game's soundtrack, not just a bunch of random Game Boy tunes or a bunch of random video game music entirely or remixes. It's like I'm listening to this like I would listen to an album, and that's kind of what vinyl does for me. And I just think they're neat. I like that commitment of like putting the record on and then flipping it and all that jazz. Like it's fun. It works for me.
I do like the three NES games on one soundtrack for $40. That's a no-brainer to me, right? I would have done that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that feels pretty solid. I get why they're splitting them the way that they're splitting them, like partially because of like if you do the three NES games, then you've got like, I guess you put both the arcade games on one. And like, but then it's like, does it make more sense to have? So to me, it makes more sense to have both the NES and arcade game, the version of that one, and then the Super Nintendo Turtles in Time and the arcade Turtles in Time as those being individual records. Then what do you do with the rest of them? Like, I would argue they probably could have put NES Ninja Turtles and Fall of the Foot Clan as one, like
at least just those first two.
That makes sense. But then like,
I don't know. It feels like a big ask for not a lot.
That's the thing. Fall of the Foot Clan's a Game Boy game, and then the other one's not. It's like I was reading through the Twitter thread about this whole thing. Like a couple people were like, "Why didn't you just make this one big box set?" And they're like, most people can't afford to drop like $200 on a bunch of records. And like this could be a Konami thing. This could have been like with the licensing, like these things. No, if we're going to do this, they all have to have their own individual thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you did this as a box set, I mean, you're looking at $32 a record for what, 9 records? What is that? No, how many is it? 3, 5. It's 9 records.
It's 9.
So, you know,
yeah. That's beefy.
That's 9 times,
a lot.
You know, you're looking at a $300 box set, which I don't know. Like all of this is to say it sounds like a crazy price to me, but if somebody presented me the opportunity to buy the Katamari Damacy soundtrack for like $100, I would have a hard time saying no to that.
Yeah, that's one of the soundtracks that was released on vinyl, and I'm just begging for it to be re-released at some point. It's just got to. Please, because I will buy that soundtrack on vinyl. No question.
You know, and when you look at the fact that the NES Turtles game is $32, and when Katamari was first released, it was like $32. It's like, man, that's really a very, very different value proposition there. You know,
oh, for sure, it's a very different value.
And that's being.
I'm not going to buy any more of these. Basically, I made the exception for the first one, even though it's pushing right up against what I think is worth the money because of like just what that first game means to me, how much I love its soundtrack, how much I love that artwork. Like, I'm happy enough. I wish it was green, but you know, I'll be perfectly happy with my black
copy. And these all should
it.
Be green.
That's great.
Like, let's be honest here. Like, glow in the dark, make that a fucking different thing. All of these should be green, and the fact that they're not is fucking bullshit. Anyway.
Well, you know, black vinyl is the cheaper one, and that's the standard, but whatever. If anything, one should be green, one should be blue, one should be orange, one should be red, one should be purple.
They should all be clear, and they should have green ooze in them. Where's the green ooze variant?
Oh,
God damn it.
There you go. So this was an interesting release idea. I don't think that there would have been any one way to do this that would have made everyone happy. Because if they bundled a couple of them together, they'd be like, well, I don't want that soundtrack. I just want this one. There would always be the inverse of
I might
that.
buy it on cassette.
I
don't have a cassette player.
I will never buy anything on cassette. I get wanting to listen to vinyl because vinyl has a sound. Vinyl has a feeling. And like audio cassettes are just like, well, this just sounds like MP3s, but worse. Like, I don't get.
I think it might be cool to put like in a display with figures, but that's more of a me.
Oh
thing.
Yeah, as a display
for
piece
$15
cool.
like that.
See, like
I don't know. I was watching this with Tiff, and she looked over at me when this came on, and she went, "Absolutely fucking not." I was like, "That's fair. That's fair."
This is bumming me out because while we were talking, I put on the Fall of the Foot Clan soundtrack in the background. It's like, I'm not buying this. I would never listen to this on its own. No. I would never.
It's just not worth it.
It's not bad music, but it's not hitting me with like that really great top tier Konami vibe, which is what the first game does for me. That, you know, the first game is that, this is classic Konami stuff, you know. And this isn't bad music, but it's not. I'm not gonna listen to this ever. Yeah. And as much as I would love to have that cover art on a vinyl,
I'll draw it for you.
And the same thing goes for all the rest of these games. I'm not going to listen to any of the rest of these as soundtracks in their entirety. And that's the line that I draw when I'm buying soundtracks. You know, if I'm going to buy a soundtrack on vinyl, it's got to be something that I'm going to want to put on and listen to top to bottom, which is why I didn't buy the Euphoria and Journey to Silius. I really wanted to pick that one up, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, Journey to Silius has a great soundtrack.
I'm just not going to put it on.
One that I like to listen to. I'm not going to, and so I'm not going to buy it. And I've had a pretty great success rate so far of buying. I've only bought records that I still genuinely listen to. There's no record in my collection, with the exception of one, that I don't actually listen to.
What's the one?
And that was the Fully Cooley soundtrack.
Yeah. That's cool.
I adore the pillows. Unfortunately, that I forgot when I bought that soundtrack that soundtrack isn't just the pillows. It's also all this other like kind of nonsense music that was from the show. And I was like, oh, right. So like I have a handful of great songs by the Pillows that I fucking love on vinyl, but they're scattered throughout this soundtrack that I don't really like listening to as an album. And I just kind of wasn't paying attention when I did that. I was like, shit, Fooly Cooly soundtrack on vinyl, I have to have it. And it's a really cool looking record and everything, but it's like, I don't listen to it. I should have waited to see if there was some way to actually get, because like now, ever since I liked that show and liked the soundtrack and learned about the Pillows, I've gone back and found all the albums that those songs were from, and now I have all of those albums like digitally, and I listen to those albums top to bottom. I would love to have some of those on vinyl because that band is freaking great. But anyway, podcast for another podcast. We got to move on. Because this was supposed to be short.
I mean, yeah.
Roller Coaster Tycoon coming to Switch in physical form.
I don't see huge demand for that physically. I don't know. I'm crazy.
I don't either, but what do I know? What was this mix? What is this one?
Wasn't El Shaddai next? Ascension of the Metatron?
They're talking about something about Mix working on something.
Yeah, I thought that was the El Shaddai thing. The HD remaster. Maybe I'm wrong.
Is that or is that just the next thing? Mix. Yeah, see, like... Yeah, after they talked about Mix, then they bring up El Shaddai, which I don't know. That's not something I know much about. I'm familiar with the name. Yeah, that's going to do well. But I can't say I ever played the game, After that was Dungeons of Ether. Also looks kind of nifty, but I think this is, again, not really for me, but this Shantae game is pretty cool. I've never really gotten into Shantae. It's like one of my biggest video game regrets is that the game's obscenely expensive. The original Shantae for Game Boy Color, and when I was working in Toys R Us in Queens, we had a fucking stack, just tons of this game for $5 on clearance, and I bought exactly 0 of them.
Which is shocking for you, because you throw $5 at dumb shit all the time.
I do, that you and don't have one. I cannot believe I didn't buy any. I would look at this and be like, I looked at the game and be like, this doesn't look like anything I'd ever play. I'm just not going to buy it. I could have bought like 30 copies of this game at $5 a piece, and I would be a goddamn
you really
millionaire.
Would, man. It's fucking nuts.
Because that original Shantae for Game Boy Color they're what, like $600-$700 a pop, and I would have a bunch of sealed copies. It would just be It breaks my heart knowing how stupid I was. But the fact that this is like a game that was in development and then got canceled, and now they're finishing it is like,
and it's
really
coming out
cool.
on a Game Boy Advance cartridge. Sorry, a Game Boy Advance compatible cartridge, I think is the way that they phrased it.
Right.
But that's awesome. Yeah.
Right, because I guess, I think that's great. And I think these games have a really great look to them. I love that this series has the fandom that it has. I think that's really neat. But the fact that they're getting to go back and finish this, because they've made a ton of other Shantae games since then, it's just really cool that they're getting to go back and finish this off and release it finally. I think that's a really cool thing to be able to do. Makes me happy. You missed a
couple in between, didn't you? Or no? Is my list out of order? Okay.
No, I don't think so. I'm literally watching the video. I'm scrolling through the video. So next up was something called
that's
Chicory.
A pretty cool little game. The kids liked it.
Yeah, I must say I am not blown away by the Fall of the Foot Clan soundtrack. So
Chicory's cool. I think you would like it. I think John and Ellie would like it. Not something. Yeah,
it's a neat looking game,
but it is very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad a game like this is getting
I am sure that there are people, I think I saw it in our Discord, like people were excited about this one. And I'm not saying not something you need physical as a disparaging comment, just you personally, Chris. You do
not something I need physical, not something that the world doesn't need physical. I think the world could use as many physical games as it can get their hands on. What is this train one called again? It's Chicory? No. Odin Cat's Paradise Collection.
Yeah, I don't know this one.
I don't either. It's adorable. Let's see what's... Oh my god, this next one. I didn't even get it when I saw it, right? So I was watching this on mute at my mom's house while my kids were swimming in the pool. And this came on, and I was like, CDI logo? Oh, this is kind of off. And then I saw the words written, and I didn't say them out loud until afterwards. This company is called CDI Software, as in an I that is CD. And it's like, you magnificent bastards. I do not understand how this got greenlit.
I'm very happy it did, though.
But I am really curious to try this out. Because it actually looks a pretty fun game. Like, the gameplay itself looks pretty good, wrapped up in the aesthetic of CDI Zelda games. And just a dash of Hotel Mario in there as well.
I thought it was kind of bullshit that they showed that they mentioned CDI Zelda, because I was like, what? Are they fucking doing, like, a limited edition, packaging? Like, can you get the CDI Zelda games on Switch? Holy shit. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be the... And then they were like, here's a game that's totally different. I was like, that was kind of a dick move, man.
But it's totally different in the best possible way. They got the voice actors.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
From the face of Evil and Wand of Gamelon. Are you kidding me? I'm fascinated. Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore. I am utterly fascinated by it. And it actually looks like if you took the gameplay of the CDI Zelda games and made
made like a game.
I'm really, really interested in trying that out. I think the cutscenes look hilarious.
Yeah.
Masterful. Just well done. Well done, guys. Then they finally followed up on the fact that their definitive edition plumbers don't wear ties. I do not understand this. So, all right, I didn't understand it when they gave all that, like, high praise and, like, really went all out and remastering the old, like, Night Trap and stuff. Like, who's playing this for fun these days? This one, though, they announced this, like a year ago, and everyone kept asking, like, okay, but what happened to it? Where is it? Where's this plumbers don't wear ties thing? And it was because they've gone completely around the bend. They've gone so far over the deep end of I'm waiting for the words to show back up so I can see exactly what they were. I cannot believe how much effort they've put into deep diving into this awful 3DO game.
Yeah, it's something.
I'm waiting for where is it? They got interviews with Angry Video Game Nerd, Plumb the Depths. Oh, what's the tagline? It's something like the best remake of the worst game or something like that. They got interviews with the actors. The greatest remaster ever for the worst game of all time.
I appreciate that they acknowledge that it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, they know that this is trash, and they know that they can only remaster it so much. I'm looking at the screen; it says original or nicer, like not high definition, not fully digitally remastered. Just like, well, there's this, but there's also this is nicer.
It's better.
Absolute garbage. I cannot imagine spending money on this, but also like seeing how much nonsense was put into here. I can kind of see why someone would. If I had fuck you money, I would absolutely buy this just for the sheer fascination of it. Like, because this isn't just putting that shitty game on a disc or something. This is putting that shitty game and a ton of information about how a game this shitty came to exist in the world. It is a fascinating thing to put this much effort into. That's what I'll say. All right, cruising along. This way madness lies.
I thought that looked really cool, but like I'm a real big nerd.
Yeah, I agree. That looks pretty neat.
Like it's all Shakespeare, and I was like, I mean, my fucking kid's named after Shakespeare. Like, this is kind of awesome.
What's this? Midnight Fight Express? That looks pretty cool. So I'm just kind of rapid firing through some of these now. Colossal Cave looked kind of neat. Another Crusade. What's this one?
It looked very...
oh, this is the Mario RPG one. These guys must feel... These guys must feel kind of bad. Unless this game came out already. But still, like, they're not making a new Mario RPG, so we're going to make one. And then they make a new RPG. They remake Mario RPG full on. It's like, fuck. Oh, man. That's got to sting. But, this still looks pretty,
cool.
looks pretty decent. This next one, though. I've never heard of Rose and Camilla before, but this is amazing. The way they explained it was like, instead of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, except instead of Mike Tyson, it was Agatha Christie. And I'm watching this trailer. It's like, all right, way forward. Okay, you have my attention. But it's all these cinematic cutscenes. And then when I finally get to see some of the gameplay, it's fucking ladies slapping each other. But it's like Punch-Out. It's like you have to like dodge and counterattack, but it's all slaps. I don't know that I want to play it.
No, I don't think I do.
Maybe I do. I'm fascinated. I'm utterly fascinated by it. Just, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt. I'm like, okay. Interesting.
And they mentioned Gargoyles Remastered. I want to know more about what it is. I get, okay, cool, it's coming physically. Hooray. But I want to know more about what the game is. This next one, though, is pretty interesting. Again, it's not really for me because these aren't my kind of games. But so this is like a kind of spiritual successor to stuff like Mischief Makers. And those kinds of games have big fans, and it's like one of those not quite like proper 3D platformers that have been making a resurgence. Like it's kind of a different flavor that I just love somebody's making a new version of. That I find is ridiculously cool. I'm so happy for fans of Mischief Makers that they're going to get something like that. Then we got the original Clock Tower as being localized for the first time.
Where I felt
fucking cool.
Like I felt really misled by the way that they were talking about it, because I thought it was going to be Gone Home. Because they said like a Japanese horror game that has never been like the fucking greatest Japanese horror game that's never been localized. And I was like, fuck, they're doing Gone Home. I have to have it. And then they were like Clock Tower. And I was like, shit, I might also have to have that, but I'm still a little disappointed. Like...
I've never gotten into the Clock Tower series, but this is another one that I think is really cool that's getting the whole remaster thing. The names involved in this are interesting. Like, it's Capcom and Sunsoft. I guess I just don't know enough about this game's original release, but this is another really interesting preservation kind of thing that's going on besides what Digital Eclipse is doing. Limited Run has their own thing they're doing called Carbon Engine, which they had a whole like thing about back when they did Trip World DX is like the first game that they announced for Carbon Engine. And Carbon Engine is also really interesting because it's similar to kind of like what Digital Eclipse was talking to us about, how they're making a game engine that they can port just about anything to that can be ported to new platforms,
which is
in perpetuity,
really cool.
Which I think is really, really wonderful thing that I'm glad they're doing. It's just it's a different approach from what Digital Eclipse is doing, but it's just good to see that there's these kinds of preservation attempts going on. Now, next up, we saw the Jurassic Park collection, which had been, kind of sort of announced, but like now we get to really see it in action and see what's cooking on
excited.
It. The NES, Game Boy, and Super NES, Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park 2: The Chaos Continues. This is neat.
They're not the best Jurassic Park
I
games,
loved that Super Nintendo game. See, like, that's just it. I don't know that's the general consensus, but I went back pretty recently to try to spend some serious time with that Genesis Jurassic Park game, and I don't think it's as good as everyone says it is. I remember feeling that way when it came out, thinking it looked really cool, and you could do a lot of really cool things, but I didn't love playing the game. I loved that Super Nintendo game. I never played the NES one, and I never played the Game Boy one. I played the Super Nintendo first one and the Jurassic Park 2 Chaos Continues, which was a totally different kind of game. But the way that this is worded, is it says keep an eye out for more on this classic games collection soon. Like, they were very specific to not say Super NES, but to very specifically say 8 and 16-bit Jurassic Park games. Something tells me that they are trying their best to get the Sega ones incorporated, just like they did with the they did the Aladdin and Lion King collection, and then they were like, everyone was like, yeah, but where's the Super Nintendo one? Like, oh, that's a Capcom game, they can't get that. And they were like,
and then they also got, what was it, Jungle Book was the other game that got added to like a later release.
Jungle Book, yeah. Mm-hmm. So like maybe that's what this situation is. Maybe before this comes out, what they mean by you're going to learn more about this, that we'll find that the Genesis ones are going to get
really
added.
Fucking Cool.
It's a Carbon Engine. Well, no, because this is Carbon Engine, not Digital Eclipse, and Digital Eclipse did the other one. Well, either way, maybe it's a similar situation. Maybe they're working with Sega to try to get those the Genesis games. And God knows, maybe the Game Gear games or something. Like,
it would be awesome for them to be there.
It would be, right? If you're going to do a Jurassic Park Classic Games collection, those should be involved. Should be. Like the ocean games, that's great. I'm super glad that they're there, but that's literally only half the story.
Yeah.
Like, those Genesis games, whether they're vastly superior or just, I would say, as good personally, because, while I love the Super Nintendo game, that's pretty flawed. I don't know that, regardless of how you feel about those games, I do think that they should be involved in this. So hopefully that's what that's
like a weird
towards.
Omission to not have.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toomba is coming back.
Yeah, Tomba's awesome.
I've never played Tomba.
It's great.
So, yeah, that's
it's
cool.
Great. Yeah, it's really fun.
And then fucking Gex is coming back.
Because why not?
Because why not? I don't know. I played the first Gex, never for long periods of time, but I have attempted to get into the original Gex a handful of times on 3DO, and it never really stuck with me. I can't imagine getting this.
No.
But you know what? Good for Gex.
Yeah, I am. I thought this was a really cool show.
Agreed.
I thought they did a lot of it was a lot longer than I was expecting. Out of everything they showed, I think the only thing that I definitely want, that I'm definitely going to get, is the making of Karateka.
Yeah.
That for sure.
That's an absolute purchase besides I bought the vinyl.
The really expensive Ultimate Edition Castlevania Advance thing. I want that. But I get what I want all the time. Because life's not fair, Kris.
That's what it's like being a grown-up, Dan.
God, it sucks.
It does.
I thought it was going to be fucking orgies all day. It's not.
It can be. You're
just
not
only
working
some
hard
days. It's not enough.
All right. So here's the deal. We were going to have a whole conversation about game preservation, but I can't. I have to draw the line. I cannot stay up for another hour. I have to be up super early tomorrow, and I have to be on my feet selling stuff. So we have to.
We're going to do things.
We're going to have to table this, and I think we have to wrap this shit up right here, right? Because what we're going to talk about, there was a whole report that came out about how so few games are actually readily available, and there's a whole conversation going on around well, we'll just pirate them.
I've got a lot of thoughts.
I have a lot of thoughts too,
the only thing I want to say, and I will shut up so that you can wrap this up. The only thing I want to say is that I hadn't ever considered it the way that it was phrased in the article of if you want Gone with the Wind, you can go get Gone with the Wind somewhere that will play on something you have, and it's not absurdly expensive. You're not buying the original version of Gone with the Wind that you have to watch on fucking Betamax with your, old school Betamax player. Like, you can just go buy Gone with the Wind in a $5 DVD bin or stream it on one of the 19 servers. And like, I hadn't really considered things that way, and it gave me some thoughts.
It is quite a topic, and I don't think it's as simple as just what several abrasive personalities online are just like, no, if you're too dumb to pirate things, then you don't deserve to play these old games. And I think that's a horrible mentality. And it's a bigger conversation than I have the wherewithal to do now. So I think we should do it another time.
Next week.
That, next week, right? What the hell's going on next week?
I don't know.
No, it should be something. I think I have something planned, right? Oh, next week we don't actually have a plan. Next week was going to be like our E3 recap, kind of like, all right, now that we've watched all the things, what do we think was the best and what do we think was the worst? We could do that too.
I don't want to talk about E3 anymore.
Yeah,
it's enough.
I'm done. It was all very fun, but there was way too much of it. So
we'll talk about this next week.
We're gonna do this game preservation conversation next week, and for now, I'm going to wrap things up. So that is our show. Like I said, join us next week. We'll do this game preservation talk. It'll be a good time, or maybe it won't. Maybe we'll just be miserable the whole time because there's so many games completely unavailable to the world. But whatever.
Whatever.
We'll find out. I'm exhausted. There's so much to do. Anyway, we're on most social media platforms, and if you want to get in touch with us, we aren't very difficult to find. All it takes is a quick look at our show notes, and you'll see links to our social media accounts, as well as all manner of other fun stuff, like a link to our namesake, StoneAgeGamer.com, and more useful links than you can shake a joystick at. If you'd like to get early access to this show's episodes, as well as a bevy of other shows on the Geekade Podcast Network, check out our Patreon, also linked to in the show notes. It helps keep this show running week after week, and all our patrons are loved and appreciated. This show's theme song, Squared Roots, was written by Banjo Guy Ollie. You can learn all about his wonderful music and more by following the link to his YouTube channel, also in the show notes. And finally, as always, we'd like to thank our intrepid editor Evan for having a birthday recently. He's not editing this episode though, because he's off working this weekend at a convention. So I'll be editing this show, and God willing, I'll be able to get it out on time. I don't know, because I'm also busy this weekend, but we'll see.
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah, theoretically it won't sound terrible, so yay? I don't know. I'll do my best.
It said, I'm still looking, it says USB audio device on here. Unlike whatever you fucked up last time, Chris.
Right, that was totally definitely my fault. It was 100% me.
Definitely.
That's it, everybody. On behalf of Dan and myself, keep playing games.